What's up, guys? Welcome along to All for United. It's Ben here, back with a show this lunchtime. I thought what we'd do is switch things up. Let's have a look back at the weekend as a whole. So much excitement about Premier League football being back. It was the opening weekend, and I tell you what, an action-packed weekend as well. What do we have in here? 34, 35 goals. VAR being used properly. United back to their sensational best. And we had defeats for Arsenal and City. So let's chat about it all in this show. Stay right there. I'll introduce you to the panel and we'll get into it straight after this. Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United. Hey, I know that voice. The voice in that intro, I know that voice. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I've heard it before. And by the way, a voice that I loved hearing this weekend, Alan Keegan. Welcome to Old Trafford. Raphael Varane. Goosebumps still on the back of my neck. And today, Manchester United's Twitter account is all about Raphael Varane, as is all their social media channels. It's officially Varane Day. But moving aside from that, Mark, Connor and Jeff are joining me. We're going to chat a little bit about the weekend, all the games, the winners and losers. A poll is up now on @All for United. Mark, I'm going to come over and start with you actually, mate. Your winners of the weekend. Who impressed you? What impressed you? And what are you taking away from the opening weekend? Give us your first statement.
Yeah, I think we made a few comments on Saturday after the game. It'd be deserved to not sort of talk about everybody in a positive light. I think the whole team were very good and there were no disappointments at all. Obviously, there were a few players that will get the plaudits. Bruno with his hat-trick, Pogba with 4 assists. I thought Luke Shaw was very good. I thought the whole Varane signing, obviously Connor being there, be able to tell you, was quite an incredible feat and nice to see that sort of change. Greenwood, I thought was excellent. Actually, I don't disagree. I don't agree with Graham Souness a lot of the time, but I don't think he was wrong by saying that Greenwood was actually brilliant. His hold-up play was excellent. He was on the end of things that he and Rashford would be criticised for on occasions and not being in the right place, right time, poacher's instinct and all that sort of thing. It was just a very, very good team performance and one that you really wanted, over the years, even when Fergie seasons, we'd always start badly. It's nice to be able to go against that grain and start very well against a team that we dislike, and to win so emphatically. But I don't think there's really any standouts for me. I thought they were all magnificent. I thought McTominay was absolutely brilliant defensively on set pieces. I'm hoping that we can take something away from that and know that actually bringing in a set piece coach has helped that, or at least starting to help that. But yeah, I thought the whole team were excellent, really.
It's about sustaining it now, isn't it, for the young lad? If he can sustain this level of performance, Mason Greenwood, then ultimately we have got 2 great number 9s there, a young, ferocious talent in Greenwood and an older, wiser Edison Cavani who knows exactly what he's doing, going head-to-head for that position. And that, to me, just screams goals. Goals. Connor, winners and losers from this weekend from you, bud. I know Mark there mentioned you was at the stadium, obviously. And I know you mentioned as well on a show, was it last night, that Greenwood has contributed to one of your best moments at a game, the fans, after he scored that goal. So tell us, who are your winners from the weekend? Who are your losers?
Yeah, obviously it would be rude of me not to mention, obviously, one of the biggest winners, the fans. I said it, prior, I think it was on one of your spaces, Ben, that people have really underestimated the fans' impact. And we saw that not just with United across the whole Premier League weekend. 7 out of the 10 games were won by the home team. Obviously, only Newcastle, Norwich and Burnley, which, you'd argue are probably in the bottom 5 teams in the league anyway. So that's no surprise. But yeah, definitely the fans have got to be up there as one of the biggest winners of the weekend. Like I said, that Greenwood goal, it was just brilliant after, and it sounds so cliche and cheesy, whatever, I don't really care. But, after the last 18 months, there was no talk of COVID, no talk of any of that. Get into the ground. We're all there just to watch United. And that Greenwood goal, because the Leeds fans were so quiet all game anyway, they piped up, obviously, when Ayling put that shot in, literally, what was it, 3 minutes later? Greenwood's putting a finish in like that. And like I said, the Stretford end where I was in front of us, obviously the goal was right in front of us. I said, pints of beer were flying everywhere. People were just jumping on it. It was just brilliant to to have that feeling back of everyone just, and I said, no talk of any, putting a downer on it. We're there to watch United. And I said 2 minutes later, Bruno goes and puts it in. 5 minutes after that, it's another one and another one. So it was just, to a man, it was brilliant. And I'm glad people are now talking about McTominay, because I got worried, obviously, that might have gone under the radar on TV, because he's not a flair player. You don't see him scoring the goals that Bruno does. But the work off the ball and the recoveries that he made in that game were just unbelievable. And one of the main reasons we won that game, because of the link up with him and Fred. I said it on the show yesterday. One of them would go forward, one of them would sit. Whereas last season we saw it, they'd both sit. So that was a much better performance from both of them. And hopefully, if we are going to play like that, it stays like that moving forward.
Yeah, I wonder if McTominay can sustain this level of performance, because if he can, then I think he's proven us all wrong, and he could actually be a number 6 in a 4-3-3. That's what I thought I saw from him anyway this weekend. And I also thought athletically he looked a lot more stable in his legs. He didn't look too big for his body. He didn't look too small for his body. He looked like a commander in the middle of the park there. And I think ultimately, if you can mix that up with Bruno and Pogba playing as freely as they did, United have got great options. And by the way, again, gone unnoticed, I thought Fred was quite good as well yesterday, and we give McFred their grief, but he was really good. Jeff, let me come over to you. Winners and losers of the weekend don't just have to be United based, mate.
Well, losers are, City, obviously. Pep asking for another striker. I mean, obviously they got the most expensive teams, like Team A and Team B, and yet they can't score, and then they just hit him on the counter. So, yeah, I'm glad those noisy neighbors are, just put in their place for at least for a weekend. For Ole, for the next few weeks, he has got a good problem to have, because Lindelof did well, McFred did well. So who are you going to put in against Southampton this Saturday? So he's got a good headache coming on. So I think it's a big win for United in terms of depth-wise, and also, the culture with Varane being introduced that way. That you know that there's a new regime that's being in control of what's going on in the team. So, and I think Connor can really speak for that. That was a smart move by the team of revealing Varane and not giving pressure to, or buckling under the pressure of having those social media interactions just because we announced Varane. They chose that way, and it paid off. So big win for us, big L for City. So yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
You're on
You're
mute,
on
man.
mute, bro. You're on mute, mate.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, talking about City, I wasn't sure which one it was. It's this one here. We were talking about losers on Twitter. You can go and vote in this poll. Who are the biggest losers of the weekend? Same old Arsenal, same old Newcastle, Arteta's Arsenal, Leeds and their fans, or Fraudiola's slow City. I think it's interesting. Let's hit on City a little bit here. Look, it's the first game of the season, and we know their slow starters. Mark, they started the season slow last year, but they fielded the most expensive side, didn't they, yesterday? There's talks that they're in for Harry Kane to up that tally. I mean, look, money's in football. It is what it is. I don't want that to be our talking point here. But ultimately, the pressure is on this City side. The pressure is on them. Did we see just a little bit of that pressure being on City yesterday? Because they just didn't turn up, did they?
Yeah, I think we have to take it. 1 second, just got to close the door. I think we've got to take it with a pinch of salt. We won 5-1. We can be ecstatic and elated about that, but that's not going to happen every week. They've come up against a Spurs side with a new manager, probably instilled a little bit more confidence in them since Jose's left. And it's a Spurs side that, arguably one of the best we've seen in years. So I thought they started the game quite well. But I think they ran out of ideas towards the end of the game, and Spurs were playing a very counter-attacking game, and that worked well for them. I think that if you are to beat City, like when we beat them 2-0 last year, we played that sort of counter-attacking game, and I think that you have to do that. And Spurs played it very well. You have to take it with a pinch of salt. Yes, it's brilliant that Arsenal lost. I think they're in big problems. City lost. Liverpool were okay, I suppose. Obviously, I know they won 3-0, but they weren't amazing. I think that, you've got to see how it unfolds in the weeks. Sorry, and if we can continue bringing in, that happiness you can see amongst the team, that spirit amongst the team, and continue that and build momentum on that. It doesn't matter about anyone else. We've got to do what we've got to do. It's unfortunate for City, obviously losing,
No,
but
it's not.
Spurs.
It's not unfortunate.
No, of course it's fortunate from our perspective, but unfortunate for them. And this is Spurs. We could lose against Spurs. We lost against them 6-1. It just happens sometimes. But yeah, they need to work on it.
Yeah, good points well made there. Hello to United View MUFC, by the way. Hello to Strawberry Milk is nice. I love that name. I like it. Even better name is Gucci Headband 11. That's probably Mark's account. He loves
It's
a
my
Gucci
burner.
headband.
Yeah,
I thought so. Yeah, I thought so. Alexa is on as well. Hey, mate. And hello to Muncie as well. Thank you. Saying Varane and Sancho need to start against Southampton. I'd love it. This is a great show. Share the link far and wide, guys. Stick a like on the video as well. If you're not watching on YouTube, youtube.com/C/All for United, or just search All for United. This is where you can follow us and get involved in the live chat. Connor, talking about City a little bit there, and we talk about pressure. What about the pressure on Jack Grealish? He nearly, tricked his way through and won a penalty in like the first minute. I thought, here we go. We go on and on about Jack Grealish being the most fouled player in the league, and he's going to win City penalty and free kicks, and it's just going to be a free for all. But he really didn't stamp his authority on the game. Is the pressure now on him as well?
I think as a United fan, it's quite funny, obviously, because we'd love. You don't really want to see anyone fail, but it would be quite funny, wouldn't it? But I mean, I think it's a bit too early to say the pressure's on him. He's played 2 matches with a City team that, let's be real, that's not their starting 11. De Bruyne obviously not going to be involved. I know it was a heavily priced squad they put out there, and it probably is good enough to beat Spurs. But I don't think City did what they normally do: dominate possession, created a lot of chances, particularly in the first 25 minutes. I don't know how they didn't score in the first 25, but ultimately Spurs just hit them on the counter-attack. So I don't think City were as bad. I think it's way too early to be ruling them. I've seen some people go way over the we're ahead of City and all. Great, we're ahead of them. But the thing for City, I think obviously they've got quite a tough. They're going to smash Norwich next week, because Norwich are going to be the whipping boys for any of the big 6 teams. I say that now and then watch us lose to them. But I mean, City will go and smash Norwich. Then they've got Arsenal. Then they've got the tough run of Leicester, City, Liverpool. So if we can bridge a bit of a gap, I know obviously last season we did have a bit of a gap to City and they came back, whatever. But obviously the quality that we've got this year, the quality Chelsea have got this year, if we can get a big enough gap, because we've got a good run of games up until the hard run we've got in October, then maybe it is time to start putting the pressure back on City. But like I said, I just don't think at the minute it's a bit too early. Like I said, it's one game, a couple of shocks across the weekend, but ultimately it's game week 1. City not got their full squad firing yet. Like I said, De Bruyne still to come in, and De Bruyne looked bloody good yesterday when he came on. So, yeah, I think it's a bit too early to, especially with Jack Grealish. As I said, as much as I want him to fail, because it would be quite funny. And obviously with Kane potentially, well, I think Kane probably will go there now. But yeah, you just can't rule them out, can you? Especially, like I said, after last season, how far behind they were in October, November time, and then look at they had won the league by March. So. Yeah, I think it's just a bit too early for all of that, although it is quite funny.
If it is, though, Jeff, like Connor was saying there, and I do sort of agree, and I completely get that point that everyone's making, if it's too early to, so to speak, criticise or look too deeply into City's form or potentially pressure being on City, is it then also too early, if we channel that energy, to count Spurs out of the top 4 race, or to judge what Spurs are going to be like under Nuno? What were your thoughts on Spurs yesterday, and should we be concerned about them in any shape or form?
With Nuno in charge, then yeah, because normally if you got Jose still on board, or who was the last interim manager, then we go with the usual Spurs lads. It's Spurs, but with a smart manager involved, and they have a game plan now. And they're not just good enough to dominate possession, but if they do that consistently, hitting teams on the counter, then they'd be a concern. The same way that it's also too early for us, to be too hyped up for 21 or 22. But a lot of last year's points that City gained on us were also our fault. So hopefully with our new transfers in, we get that gap going. Hopefully, we don't drop as many as points. But yeah, going back to your point, Spurs is definitely a black horse in the top 4 race. You can count Arsenal out. I'm pretty sure about that. So
Yeah, they're on my acca to go down, Arsenal. They're nowhere near that blooming top 4. So yeah, go on, Mark. Did you want to pitch in and say something quick?
Yeah, just I don't think you can count anybody out of it. You know, if you look at it, 2-0 against Arsenal, Brentford have got a bloody good chance winning it right now. Yeah. But no, I think that there are 4 main teams really. I think for me, with Tottenham, they're a bit too pragmatic for me. I don't think that that's going to work against every team. I don't think City have really had enough pre-season. They're coming in on the back of a loss to Leicester for the Community Shield. And I just can't. For me, I'm not sure if Nuno was the best appointment. I've got a couple of Spurs mates, talk to them all the time. They weren't really particularly happy with it. And really, they're just getting a fresher Jose Mourinho to a certain extent, and but probably with a better rapport with the players, right? So, the Spurs could be in it. They've beaten City. Fair play to them. It's a great start for them, but I can't see them doing that all season, and I think it's too pragmatic for me. City will settle differently, and this is a big thing for me about Ollie, actually, which I want people to start seeing if they can, is I think Ollie would take every game one game at a time. He will set up in a particular way for that game, and whilst it doesn't always pay off, he does know what he's doing, and I think that on 9 times out of 10, especially in the last couple of seasons, that's worked. And he won't go all attacking that he did against Leeds. He was able to do that because Leeds came at him in the way that it did. He had Dan James on and players like that. Fred and McTominay had a great game, and he was able to play the game that he wanted. And he will change it up against City too. He'll probably start how Tottenham have, allow them to come at us, and then get him on the counter-attack. But I just think that Spurs haven't got quite the spine that they need to be able to do that for every different game.
I thought that when I saw Skip in the middle of the park, and again Højbjerg, he'll give you a run out, but he's not someone who's going to consistently perform for you. So these are the negatives. Vote for the losers online right now at All for United on Twitter. Let's talk about a couple of other positives. We just hit on Spurs and City, and Spurs without Kane. By the way, can I just quickly hit on that Spurs and Kane? Just yes or no, Mark. This week, does Kane go to City?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think it happens? Connor, what about you?
Yes, but probably not this week.
Okay, Jeff, what about you?
same with Connor. Yeah, but not this week as well.
Interesting. I think it's one of those that if once they agree that fee, the deal will be done quite quickly. I just want to quickly hit on a couple of other positive and negatives. We've got West Ham and Newcastle on here. Same old Newcastle, and West Ham's come back. I'm actually going to switch up slightly. Connor, I'm going to come over to you because you was inside Old Trafford. You witnessed that atmosphere. I've got to say, the only atmosphere that for me came close to it this weekend was the noise at St James's Park. But again, for the fans, it's all that promise, all that hope of a new season, and sort of trampled on again when it comes to that Newcastle United performance this weekend. Wilson obviously bagged a goal, but obviously in the end, West Ham too good for them. What do you make of Newcastle this season, Connor? Do you think they're in trouble?
I mean, they're always going to be there or thereabouts, aren't they? Kind of in the lower half of the league. To be fair, though, I don't think going forward, they actually look very good. St. Maximin was turning right inside out, especially for that first goal. I mean, geez. You know, in all games, St. Maximin had that West Ham midfield and the fullbacks on absolute strings. He was taking the mick out of them, really. Callum Wilson, you know, Almiron doesn't score, but he's a good part of the team. You know, they've got a good midfield, obviously, with Willock coming in as well. So Newcastle weren't as bad as everyone makes out. I think it was just one of those games where it was so open, just free-flowing Newcastle on the attack. Then there was a counter-attack from West Ham, and then Newcastle would break. It was one of those games, and unfortunately, well, for Newcastle, West Ham were just more clinical, and they do have the better quality of players. When you look at that forward line with Bowen and Ben Rama, Antonio, Souček, Rice, you know, they've got a brilliant team. So when it's a game like that, the quality will usually prevail because tactics kind of went out the window after the first 20 minutes. It was just free-flowing attacking football. So like I said, usually the quality prevails. But Newcastle will be down there. I think for the Newcastle fan, I mean, they were booing at the end of the game. I mean, it's game one. I'm not a Newcastle fan, so I can't really speak on behalf of them, but I think I get the impression they're not the biggest fan of the manager anyway. I don't think he's going to have long. Newcastle need to get off to a good start, otherwise they're going to be booing like that every game. So I think it's, again, too early to say, but I think they've got enough going forward with St. Maximin and Wilson, Almiron, like I said, that midfield of Shelby, Willock, and whoever else they're going to play in there. There's enough there to keep them up, certainly for that, but they are going to be down kind of that lower to mid-table region this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. And Mark, for you, West Ham, Moyes' West Ham, they just keep on upsetting the apple cart, don't they? They had a great season last year, and what a start! What a start! There's no harder place to go, I don't think. Opening day of the season, a packed out St James's Park against the Magpies. What a result! What a comeback!
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually only watched the first sort of 30, 35 minutes of that game. And I saw obviously Newcastle at that point 2-1 up, I think it was, and it made me think. West Ham had a really good season last season. Is it really? Are they going to be able to do it again? Can they instill that? I always have not a negative thought of David Moyes, but I always wonder whether he is a good manager. But I think he did show that last year, and I think yesterday kind of shows that too. I agree with a lot of what Connor said. Newcastle actually have got a very good squad. Does Steve Bruce give them the right means to be able to utilise that squad? Probably not. And I think that's probably echoed by a lot of Newcastle fans. But West Ham, they're a good team. I don't dislike David Moyes. I think he is a good manager. I just think it wasn't quite, it's too big a club of Man United for him to do anything or get the right things. And he changed too much up when he was asked not to. And we can go on about that another day. But he's got a very good squad there. They did bits last year, didn't they? And I think that they can only move on and capitalise from that. And a 4-2 result, bit open-ended, first game of the season. Everyone's kind of trying to steady the ship and, get their familiarities, aren't they? So there's going to be a lot of open-endedness. We saw this against Leeds, but we took our opportunities. They didn't, yeah. Good result for West Ham. A good start, bit shaky, but a result that they'll be happy with.
I think just quickly on back of what Mark was saying as well, I think with West Ham as well, they need to get off to a good start, because when that Europa League starts, we might see this with Leicester as well. We know what Thursday, Sunday or Thursday, Monday does to a team. Now, West Ham don't have the depth to be able to rotate Thursday, Sunday, week in, week out, if they're going to go obviously the distance in the Europa League. So I think that might come back for them later on obviously in October, whenever the Europa League and Champions League does start, because they don't have a big enough squad. I mean, look, they've got a good first 11, but I mean, you're looking outside of that. They had a lot of kids on the bench, a lot of younger players, academy players in the match day squad against Newcastle. So I think that's when you're going to see them start to struggle.
Isn't it wonderful not to be a part of that Thursday, Sunday rotation now? Eh? Isn't it wonderful? We took it for granted.
And long may that continue. Let me say that once and for all. Do you know what? It's an interesting one. And what he's mentioning on the West Ham squads, it's just reminding me of something that Moyes said last week. And that's why he thinks Benrahma is going to be a massive player for them, because they need to have that little bit of edge. They need to have that St. Maximum within their side. And he feels like Benrahma is that player to give them a magical edge week in, week out in all these different games against different levels of opposition. So it's going to be a big season for him this year. But yeah, as you said, really interesting season ahead with West Ham and what they will do. But what a statement to make at the start. If you feel like they're one of the winners from this weekend, go vote for them at All for United. Do you know what, Jeff? One thing that I'm happy that we're not doing is making this show all about VAR decisions. That is really nice. But I've got to say, let's start off by talking about VAR now. A lot of changes have been made. However, this happens in the West Ham Newcastle game. It was a penalty kick to West Ham. The tackle flew in. I don't know if you've seen it or not. I don't know if anyone else on the panel has actually seen the tackle in full motion. Connor, you might want to chip in here as well then. But loads of debate on whether it was a penalty or not. Connor, what would you say? Do you think it was a penalty?
Absolutely no chance. I'm sorry. There's no way on. That picture obviously looks worse than it. He touches the ball first and it just taps the West Ham player and he goes launching into the air. So
I don't know about whether that picture does make it look worse or not, because I think sometimes a dive is noticeable from the way that a player goes down and the alarm bells ring as soon as you jump on the floor like that. How is that even a natural reaction from a player when they go down onto the floor?
Yeah, I'm not sure it is, yeah.
And the thing is, he gets straight back up and tries to carry on, almost like he knows he's not going to get a penalty for it. Like I said, he gets the ball first, and then he just jumps up in the air like he's been absolutely mullered by Yap Stam or something. So I don't quite know what what he's jumping in the air. But yeah, definitely not a penalty for me.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a penalty either. On first look, I did. But then again, should VAR have overturned it then? Why didn't VAR get involved at that point? A few changes have been made, Jeff, to VAR this weekend. It seemed to have all gone seamlessly up to this point. What have you made of the VAR changes, Jeff? Have they been noticeable for you?
Well, the fact that there's no news about VAR, I think that's a good thing because they don't make the headlines. Like if referees make the headlines, then that's a bad game officiated for them. So I think that's a good thing. But yeah, to that point with the West Ham penalty, I think they're trying too much not to disrupt what the on-field decision was. But then again, if it's an obvious error, then they should have overturned it. But the fact is, it's not being talked about in the weekend recap. So it's a good thing that VAR is doing its job properly this time around.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Mark, because one of the big changes in direction for the Premier Leagues is that referees are allowed now to allow a degree of contact without saying it's a foul, which is obviously good for the game because it makes it more of a contact sport. It means that the game can flow a little bit more and there's less interference. Whereas last year, little bit of contact in the box, VAR get involved, it's a penalty. So ultimately here, by the looks of it, the ref has gone, right, I've seen the contact, I felt it was enough. I don't care how it looks on screen, it's a penalty. So I suppose that's the difference now, right? And that's why VAR are not getting involved. They're leaving that judgment of whether the contact is enough for a foul down to the referee or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that the fact that they are now including a little bit of contact is very good. I think there's a lot more conversation and noise created about the fact that you can't make a tackle these days. And I think that's wrong. And I think that they should allow that. So that's good to see. I also think that obviously there's humans make errors. That's just normal, and yesterday could have been one of them. They've added a few more things in, thicker lines. I don't think we've seen any of those this weekend, have we? We haven't had to sort of call any of those, but I think obviously that's a good thing because when you've got someone that's you're on mute,
it was Bruno's goal.
I was going to say Bruno's goal. They had to use the technology, didn't they?
Yeah, that's the over the line technology. I'm talking about the VAR offside lines.
No, even it was Lindelof's ball over the top to Bruno. They had to use the lines then, didn't they?
Yes,
sure they did.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You are right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, these things are there to be bettered. Everything is there to be bettered or broken, and it didn't work brilliantly last season. That's fine. Caused a bit of an upset. Probably caused you a bit of happiness on occasions too. So yeah, it's good to see that they've improved this. Hopefully, it was seamless, but I think we had seamless weekends last season. But hopefully that can continue. And yeah, it was good, better at least. I'm just happy that they brought in a bit of contact. I think that's needed. There's nothing better sometimes, not going in to break someone's leg, but being able to go in, not have to worry about the kind of physicality using to try and win that ball back. And I think that's good. That's a good thing we needed.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, 100%. I'm just trying to have a look here on how it's working and sort of how different it is. And you're right, it's the bold line as well. Connor, is it any different with how it's obviously we had the Bruno decision and the goal line technology as well, slightly different still, but is there any difference in the stadium in terms of how VAR is being used?
It felt a lot quicker, to be honest. And I don't know how. Like I said, I've watched it back on TV, and it seemed quite quick on there as well. But I mean, in the stadium, because last season, the season before that, when fans were in the stadium and VAR was just kind of being introduced, you'd hear VAR checking goal, and it would be like 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes sometimes before you'd see a decision. Whereas that Bruno one, and it was quite tight actually when you look at it on TV. And I think maybe last season that might have been ruled out offside if they were going with the really thin lines and analysing every pixel. But no, in the stadium itself, it was VAR checking goal as soon as Bruno kind of ran into the corner, and then 40 odd seconds later, it was given. And you can tell, like I said, the referee kind of with the hand gestures he was giving and the announcements over the speakers as well. So it was a lot clearer on what was going on. which is a good thing because I think in a state, especially at Old Trafford, the size of the stadium, if you're sat up in the second tier, you can't necessarily see the facial expressions of the players and things like that. So you're going to struggle with, knowing what's going on. So yeah, the communication was definitely better. But overall, as I said, we're talking about referees and VAR and things like that. The game felt more flowing. Like I said, there was decisions like tackles going in where me and my mate were saying, like, last season, that's a foul. That's a penalty last season and things like that. Whereas this season, there's tackles going in, things like that. It's a contact sport, just let the game flow. And I think we've seen that across the whole Premier League weekend, not just in the United game. Tackles are going in where they're getting the ball, but, also getting the man. Whereas last season they were fouls. The football for me is so much better when it's free flowing. Obviously, like Mark said, you don't want to go in and break someone's leg, but let the game flow a bit more, because otherwise it's going to turn into what rugby is, where it's so stop-start and the game can never get into a rhythm then.
I think the point is you need a choice, don't you? You need a choice of making a decision on whether something is dangerous or not. And we can do that far easier if you allow contact, because as Connor says, it should be a contact sport. So everyone can see if it's a dangerous tackle, if someone's gone in to take them out. And I think if you're able to have that contact, you can then make that decision from there.
Mm-hmm. I also think with things like this as well, there's got to be a degree of factuality to it, in terms of that you can't just like give a handball because an arm's like that. Like there needs to be some sort of knowledge and know-how and consistency to how these decisions are given. It's so inconsistent for me. That's what really bugs me. But if they're now letting the on-field referee live and die by their decision, I think ultimately that's better for everyone, because you haven't then, and also I don't know about you guys, but when you're watching, and if you're watching a game on a telly and it takes 12 replays for them to decide whether it's a penalty or not, or whether it's offside or not, for me that just goes completely against the whole sort of like decisiveness of the system. I'm trying to think of the clear and obvious side of the system that they're trying to use. So yeah, sorry Jeff, did you want to pitch in quickly on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've seen the A-League games, the league in Australia. They got those referees mic'd up, the flagsman, the referee, and even the VAR referee. They got them mic'd up. And whatever the conversation that happens between them during the review, all of the viewers get to hear that. So that level of transparency helps, even if it takes a while. I guess the Premier League, sorry about that. The Premier League isn't really confident with their own referees to be able to pull that off. So I think that's something that can be considered if they really want to, increase the credibility of their own referees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good idea. It adds to the spectacle. You sort of want a Netflix-style documentary to be made. We're getting one of those, though, aren't we, guys? Because that's happening at Arsenal this season, which is going to be so much fun. Cannot wait for that to drop on Prime. Look, Mark, I don't even know where to start with Arsenal, because watching them lose and in this disarray in some ways is funny, in other ways it's not. It's a great club falling. But the problem I've got is as a neutral watching that game, you're watching a team that's bang up for it against a team that couldn't give two shits. Like they literally, that's what it felt like. And I've got quite a few Arsenal fan mates, and my nephew's an Arsenal fan, and he felt the same. It was like, I can take a defeat if we play well. He said, I can take a defeat if we play badly. I said, I can't take a defeat against a newly promoted club when we don't even try. And I think that's the issue now with Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. I actually would love to go back to the days where Arsenal and United were the top two teams. I do miss those rivalry days. And I do actually have a lot of respect for Arsenal. I don't necessarily have respect for their fans. And I think it goes to show with regards to Wenger and getting him out. Yes, he didn't win as much over the last, the latter years of his career for Arsenal. But he was a great manager, and I think that they forced him out a little bit. And it's a really difficult one. I think Arsenal, and I had this conversation with an Arsenal fan a few weeks back. Arsenal, Man United 4 or 5 years ago, really, where, when Ollie came in, a huge rebuild job, lots of deadwood, a new inexperienced manager. Obviously they've got the same sort of problems as the Gladiators. We've got the same sort of problems as them from an ownership perspective. And they should have done it a lot earlier. They should have done it probably prior to losing Wenger, or at least immediately after. And I think that they've not done that, and they're suffering the consequences now. And it's a real shame to see. It really is, and I mean that. I mean that in the nicest way possible. I do. It's a real shame. And where did they go? Where do they go from here? You know, they've brought in a manager like Ollie, and it's not real. I don't know what he's trying to instill. I don't know what his philosophy is. Where do they go from this?
Championship.
Yeah, literally. But the issue I've got with this Arsenal team is, like, all their hope is on Saka and Smith Rowe, and ultimately Saka's looking like a good player. Don't get me wrong, looking like a very good player. Young lad, still a lot to develop. But who's he meant to develop off of at Arsenal? Who's he meant to improve from? Again, Smith Rowe. Same thing with him. He's meant to be the saviour in that number 10 shirt, in that number 10 position. He's not great. Am I the only one who's not seeing this with Smith Rowe? He isn't that good. And then they're like, okay, Smith Rowe's not that great. We need another midfielder. Who are we going to go and buy? Odegaard. Really? You saw him last season for half a season. Did he really light that fire for you guys? No, he didn't. It's shite recruitment. The club is just falling into this spiral. And the problem is they haven't got anyone with big enough bollocks to step up and really take control of the situation and demand what the club needs. The club does need a James Maddison. The club needs quality. The club needs good players, but the right investment. The problem is they're going the wrong way. They're trying too much to make the right investments in substandard players that aren't going to take them up that next level. Their first 11 at the moment is it's nowhere near Leicester's. It's nowhere near Tottenham's. It's just not there. And then you've got the players who potentially could have that quality, and Lacazette and Aubameyang, who just aren't asked anymore. Like, you can... Come on. Throw me another bone. Yeah, your dog can throw me another bone on that one, Mark. I tell you, it's not happening. What a load of nonsense. Connor, let me come over to you. What do you make of the demise or the sinking ship that is Arsenal? What did you make of their performance on the weekend?
Yeah, I kind of agree partly with what Mark was saying. A lot of my... Obviously, going to a lot of my younger memories were going to the pub with my dad, watching United, and a lot of my dad's friends are Arsenal fans. So obviously that was always a big occasion, United versus Arsenal, particularly obviously in the early days when it was back at Highbury before they moved over to Emirates.
Connor, quickly, before you carry on, Brown Knight, tell me how Odegaard is better than any of their current players. You can maybe have a look at him as a talent merchant and say he has the talent to potentially be as good as all of their players. But what have you seen from Odegaard in any shirt of any football club sustained over a season that tells you that he is the guy to go in at Arsenal and sort out their issues? He isn't. And neither's Ben White, by the way. They bought the wrong person from Brighton. Who they needed was Dunk, not Ben White. It's the same thing. It's putting the optimism in a young player, throwing money at them and hoping they'll come good. That doesn't fix Manchester United. That doesn't fix Arsenal Football Club. And we've learnt that more than Arsenal have. Sorry, Connor, I had to butt in.
Yeah, no, it's a classic case of he can be good, but he hasn't shown it yet. Transfers are always a risky business anyway, especially the kind of money they're talking about for Odegaard. So I think with Arsenal, it all kind of, obviously it's been going downhill since Wenger anyway, but I think it all went to shit really when they gave Aubameyang that massive contract, because ever since then he's looked nowhere near the kind of player that he is. Lacazette is kind of being forced out of the team, it feels like, and then he's kind of come back in, he does well, and then he's back out of the team again, which is really weird. Like you said, they're pinning their hopes on two young players within Saka and Smith Rowe, both who... Saka is actually a very good footballer, I think, and I think Smith Rowe can be. He's shown glimpses of what he can do. But ultimately, it's the spine of the team. We say this with every single team. They don't have a spine anymore. You go back to I hate comparing like teams back before, but you look at what they used to have compared to the kind of system they had now. Obviously, part of that was Wenger trying to implement this Barcelona style and, the kind of quick passing football that he tried to do in the latter years at Arsenal, which was working for a period. But now it just seems like they are just kind of in free fall. And I don't see them. I actually thought they were going to do, and they still might, obviously it's still only one game in. They didn't have Aubameyang, Lacazette, playing against Brentford, but even still, there's enough players on that pitch to beat Brentford. I actually thought Arsenal, and like I said, they still might, have a good season because they're not in any European competition. I said earlier, West Ham and Leicester have obviously got Europa League. Tottenham are in this Conference League. So I thought this is a big chance for Arsenal. I know they don't want to be in the Europa League, but it's a big chance for them to get back up into the top 6 with other teams potentially struggling, around European competitions. But nothing strikes me with Arsenal that they've got the team to push on. Like I said, Leicester have firmly cemented themselves for me in that top 6 now. I think Arsenal have been kind of kicked out of that and Leicester have now taken that. I know some Leicester fans don't want that responsibility. They want to be known as, little old Leicester, the underdogs. But I think the last 4 seasons they've had, they have cemented themselves and Arsenal have dropped to a top 8 team, quite simply.
Didn't we have the same sort of thing, though, for a while? It was Ollie that grabbed it by the scruff of the neck and changed it. We had a contract that was signed by Sanchez that really rocked the boat. And he gave up after that. We were getting excited about players like Borthwick Jackson and a few others that really, in comparison to other players that had come through, weren't at that standard. Yeah. So I think that they're just a few years behind us, if I'm honest. Now that's a lot in the grand scheme, right? And they've got a lot of work to do, but they do have an opportunity to try and recover. But someone just needs to grab it by the scruff of the neck and do the right things.
What would worry me as an Arsenal fan is looking at their first few fixtures. Like I said, obviously they've got Chelsea next, who look in top form. Then they're in the second round of the AFL Cup. I mean, what big team goes into that in the second round, where they're away at West Brom? Then they've got Man City away. I said Norwich and Burnley. I mean, you'd expect them to beat them, but they're going to beat them. And then they've got the North London derby against Spurs. So they could go the first 6 games with only 1 or 2 wins. And that is
When's
really
that North London derby? When is that? End of September?
26th of September.
26th. Yeah.
All right, here you go then. Bold prediction: Arteta's not in a job in October. I can't see it.
I wouldn't be surprised because they're not going to beat Chelsea and City.
I don't think that's bold. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I just, for me, and it's all recruitment as well. It is all recruit. Hello to Nat, by the way, who I know is in as well. Strawberry milk is nice. Strawberry milk is nice. I feel like we need to make a little ringtone. Is also Stephen off on the chat talking about them. Yeah, Brandon, I know what you're saying. Arsenal are rubbish. He goes in there and he's better than what they've got. But I think on the grand scheme of things, I don't know. I think when you're in a situation like this, and this is what's frustrated me with United managers of past, you've got to play to your squad strengths and not to how you see your philosophy of football. Egos need to be left at the door when it comes to big clubs. That's why it's not worked with many managers at Manchester United and many players at Manchester United. That's the one thing. That's why recruitment is so important. So important. And that's why I think Varane's going to be a fantastic signing for us. And Sancho and Maguire's been fantastic. Recruitment. The problem with Arsenal is, and Mark, you say a few years behind. I think they're light years behind. As Connor said, the problem is with United, at least what we'd do is we'd go and splash some money on like Di Maria. We're bringing in Alexis. There'd be hope. There's no hope with Arsenal. Yeah. Absolutely no hope whatsoever. And I think that's the issue. There's not enough people in the club that even care. Jeff, let me come over to you. Just your final thoughts on everything that's been said on Arsenal, mate. And go on, give us a prediction. Where are they going to finish the season, Jeff? Be bold. Go on, Jeff. Be bold.
You remember the documentary on Too Good Not to Go Down? They might have that year, That's a real possibility for me. With
Wait
this
a second.
documentary,
Can you just rephrase that for a clickbait tweet for me? So
out of context,
down.
all for United. If you're watching this, Jeff just said Arsenal are going down.
So what was it again? Arsenal are going down, is what you just said. Is that right? I'm just going to type it out right now.
If they don't fire Arteta by September, then they might go.
Oh, wait a second. For strawberry milk, Mark, come on. You've got to show your dog. Look at that. There we go. Strawberry milk is nice. Thank you, pal.
That's a huge ass poodle.
Look at that.
She is big. Yeah, she is big.
Yeah. And guess what? Mark doesn't just have his missus in bed with him at night. He has his dogs in bed with him as well. How the hell that guy has any room to sleep in? I don't know.
You know what? We have this conversation every day. How the hell we sleep peacefully is unreal. We've got Boo, who is tiny. We've got Morgan, who's a big husky German Shepherd. We wake up with sore backs sometimes, I can assure you.
Out of context of United, if you're watching that, then that needs to be clipped up as well. I'll tell you what, strawberry milk is nice. If that wasn't worth your £5, I don't know what isn't. We'll get you that clipped up as well for your ringtone. Don't worry about that. Jeff, let me come back over to you. Back onto the football, and less on Mark's sore back. Let's carry on what you're saying. Where are Arsenal going to finish? So Arsenal are finishing bottom of the league. I'll quote that up now.
Not really bottom, but they might be up for a relegation battle, especially with the Amazon documentary that they're showing. It's like made for it, all or nothing. So yeah.
He's not holding back today, is he, old Jeff?
Let your thoughts be known, mate. I'm just trying to find that clickbait title out of that. So
yeah, because if Arteta's gonna stick by Christmas, they're getting too deep to get any sort of like mid-table standing, So yeah.
Mm-hmm. The problem for me, just one last quick thing. They're just not really an attractive club to go to. I think for a manager or players, I don't see that they're going to be in a relegation battle. As much as obviously that would be funny from a United perspective, I can't see it happening. If they get rid of Arteta soon, I think that could be a bigger problem for them, because who are you going to attract in? And I think that you need a little bit of stability there right now in order to not be in a relegation battle. But I don't think they're going to be in one, personally.
But I don't think the players believe in Arteta anymore. That's just me. That's why, if you see that effort against Brentford, it's like, man, who are they playing for anyway? So
Here we go, guys. It doesn't matter what you think, Mark, because Arsenal are getting relegated, says Jeff. There we have it. There we have it. That's what you just said. It's what you just said, Jeff. You just said it. Everyone heard you. Look, let's just jump into a couple more talking points. Get voting on the poll, by the way, at All for United. Who are the losers of the weekend? Fraudio's Slow City, same old Newcastle, Arteta's Arsenal, Leeds and their fans. We haven't really hit on Leeds fans, but we don't need to. They don't even have any. They just had a couple that turned up. They ran into a pub where Manchester United fans don't even drink and offered it out with a load of families eating a full English on Saturday morning. They then started chanting about Munich. They were then dissing Rashford and Sancho. Who even cares? Spurs, who are the winners? Spurs without Kane, United running riot, West Ham's comeback, and Chelsea's perfect week. It's almost like we've put this on a Manchester United fan channel. Maybe. Let's just hit on a couple more things, Mark. Some breaking news that has happened this lunchtime. I've actually got 3 talking points here. Ethan Laird has joined Swansea City. It's all done. United have just confirmed it as well. A good move for the lad. He needs to stay fit now, though, doesn't he, Mark?
Yeah, it's a good move for him. We've spoken about him a number of times, actually, as one to watch. And I do think he's one to watch. I think he's actually got a huge ceiling, very, very good ability. Had some, obviously, some injuries over the last few years and needs to kind of get a bit fitter and steer clear of those. But I think Swansea is a good move. I think Swansea are a well-run club that play some good football that would be good for him and to kind of make that breakthrough on his improvement. So yeah, good. I'm pleased. It's another thing that I will praise Ollie for, even though he has downfalls, is he does seem to be slowly cutting out the correct players and also offloading the players that we want to give a bit more time to.
Yeah, I completely agree. Good point, well made, mate. And with Ethan Laird as well, it's whether now he can go and take that loan and come back and be a serious contender for Wan-Bissaka's spot, because I don't think Dalot's going to want to stay any more than a year, is he, as a backup option? So it's all over to him now. Let's see what he can do. And isn't the guy who, someone correct me if I'm wrong, the guy who's in charge of Swansea now was in charge of MK Dons last year when Ethan Laird was, that's right, isn't it? When Laird was there. I'm sure he was. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong on that. Pretty sure he is. Oh, no, sorry. The guy who's at Swansea now used to work with the United Academy. It's something like that. There's some sort of story behind the connection between the Swansea manager and the Man United Academy. I don't quite know what it is, but still. Connor, let me come over to you. Some more news that has come out is Fabrizio Romano this lunchtime has apparently spoken about how he thinks that Jesse Lingard could still leave the club before the end of the transfer window. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's actually quite natural because he's not going to get much playing time?
Yeah, just quickly before I come on to Lingard, Ethan Laird, that's a brilliant move for him, by the way. I've watched him for the 23s for a long time. He's way too good for that level. There's a few players, Galbraith and Levitt and Choricero and players like that, they're too good for the 23s. So a low move, brilliant for Laird, and he will do well over there. And Connor Roberts is injured, so they need another quality right back to get in there. So That was just quickly on there. But on Lingard, it is going to be very difficult for him to get a game with us. Obviously, you look at the team we put out yesterday. That's without Rashford. That's without Cavani. Sancho and Martial made cameo appearances. Van der Beek didn't even get on the pitch. Matic wasn't. He came on the pitch for half an hour for a brief cameo as well. Pogba, Fernandes. There's so many players that are ahead of him. So if we can get a decent enough fee for him, that's the only worry, and we seem to be terrible at getting fees for our players. And I think that's partly down to the fact that when other clubs sell their supposed deadwood, they have good performances like 3 or 4 games where you see them at top quality. Whereas with United, we played Pereira and Lingard and Phil Jones and all these players week in, week out. So everyone sees the bad performances. So the resale value goes down. Obviously, wages is another part as well. But I just can't see where Lingard goes because it doesn't seem like West Ham are coming back for him. I know David Moyes has said that they'd like him back, but it doesn't seem like he's going there. There was talk of him potentially going Leicester, but that's only if Maddison goes to Arsenal, which I can't see happening at all. So, where does he go? It's got to be. I can't see him moving abroad. It would be a Premier League side, and the only side I could see is West Ham. So it all depends on whether he comes back in. But I hope he goes for his own career because I think Lingard deserves to have a starting place. He proved that last year at West Ham, and he is a nice lad as well. So I think he deserves to be playing week in, week out, and he's definitely not going to get that at United, despite the good season he had last year.
I did see an Instagram post by the West Ham goalkeeper or one of. Yeah, and basically said, see you at the training ground, you know what to do or something. So I think there obviously is firm interest and there is something going on. But I think you're right, Connor. I can't see him going anywhere else. And West Ham
Mark,
would be the best destination.
I'm going to stick up for you here, man. James is giving you a bit of fire in the chat. He was like, just so everyone knows, Mark's a footballer, I'm not on this panel. And then he's been bigging up his own work. Wow, what a spectacular fun now. All I'm going to say to James is, James, welcome to the stream. And this is how you really host a show. Right, Jeff, let me come over to you. And let's hit on one more thing because we all want to get out of here and watch the Varane interview. I'm sure that's now dropped. How excited are you, Jeff? End it here. I've not heard your thoughts on Varane yet. Oh, by the way, one more thing. Russell Martin was the manager of MK Dons last season, so Laird's going back to work with Russell Martin, who we worked with last season. Perfect, and he played so well under. Jeff, let me come over to you. Varane, how happy and excited are you to see Rafael Varane in a Man United shirt potentially on Sunday against Southampton?
Super happy. Like I've had Varane on my United, on my FIFA squad for the longest time. So for it to happen, real life, it's just surreal. So that's the problem that always gonna have. Like Lindelof just had a good game. Do we just drop him right there and there, or just do we wait for him to make a mistake, or just throw Varane? Throw Varane out there. But that's a very good problem to have, and super excited for him to show off his wares in the Premier League. So yeah.
Nice one, mate. Perfect. Jonathan's excited. The unveiling was incredible. Connor sent us over some videos as well. We'll try and get them up actually on the All for United Twitter account so you can see them. Still buzzing after Saturday. Loads of thoughts here. Sorry, James. I love you really. You're doing great work, mate. You really are. And Brown Knight said, "Is it me or did the stream just die?" But potentially it's because I put Mark on full screen and YouTube just couldn't handle the.
The views have just gone up.
Yeah, wow. That was an increase like I've never seen before. Right, let's take it over. Let's take it from there. By the way, James, you have missed probably one of my favourite moments from Mark on a stream so far. It was absolutely awesome when he was talking about sleeping with his dog. You might want to watch that one back later. And if you're just tuning in now, you might want to watch the whole thing back later. Go to the start of the video and rewatch as we spoke about the winners and losers of this week. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Let's get these viewers up and let's see if we can smash through 20, 25 likes, shall we? For these guys have all been awesome. They've given up their lunch break to talk about football. How great are they? Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to get out of here. If I remember how to play this intro, then hopefully it will be seamless. Take care, guys. Have a good rest of your day and enjoy your week. We'll speak soon. And come on, United. Let's win everything. There's no game yet. It's on Sunday. Cool.